This is the best scientific evidence of God, and it makes no sense. The tilma of Saint Juan Diego, an object responsible for the conversion of 9 million Aztecs, is an article of clothing which has impossible scientific properties. These properties have made it the object of devotion for hundreds of millions of Catholics. I'm going to tell you what those properties are that make it the most verifiable miracle of Christianity. This is the science of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Before we begin, let me tell you what even is the tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The story goes that in 1531, a recent convert to Catholicism, Juan Diego, experienced a series of apparitions of the Virgin Mary. At the conclusion of these apparitions, he was told by her to gather a bunch of flowers that bloomed out of season to present to her. Obediently, he gathered the flowers in his tilma, which was a sort of cloak, and spread them out before her. And at that moment, an image of her was manifested on the cloak, and the notoriety of the incident went on to inspire the conversion of millions of people. The crazy part is that we still have the tilma, and it makes no sense. The first notable property is its durability. If you didn't know, the tilma of Saint Juan Diego was just an ordinary article of clothing in the Mexico Valley in the 16th century. It was made of agave fiber, which usually deteriorates after 20 to 30 years in ordinary circumstances, according to current scientific consensus. However, this tilma has continued to exist in good condition for just under 400 years. For most of this time, the tilma was displayed in open chapel, with direct contact to the elements, with candles and incense constantly lifting up smoke to it, which absolutely should have ruined this fabric. It's been exposed to the temperature fluctuations and humidity of Mexico City, which does not have an ideal climate for preservation. The natural light and candlelight alone would ruin the pigments in the tilma over the years, and not to mention the countless pilgrims and clergy who touched it with their nasty, greasy 16th century hands. Yeah, there wasn't any protective casing around this thing until the 20th century. Up until then, people could just walk up to it and touch it. They could touch on it with their nasty hands and get all their greases on it and the dirt. The amount of wear and tear that this tilma has experienced extends far beyond what any fabric of this kind should ever be able to take. This thing should not exist. It should be ash and dust by now. Literally. Someone exploded a bomb right underneath it in 1921 by hiding it in a bouquet of flowers. The bomb destroyed objects around it, including a metal crucifix, but the tilma and its casing was completely unharmed. There is absolutely no scientific explanation as to how this thing has managed to remain in existence for this long, especially in these horrible conditions. Physicist Dr. Arfoldo Orozco has noted, its durability cannot be explained by any natural means. It is therefore, for this reason alone, a completely inexplicable scientific miracle. But that's not the only thing that makes it special. Not even close. One of the most insane features of it is that there is not even a single paintbrush stroke on it. I'm being serious. It was analyzed by several scientific experts who could not explain its creation, two of whom I'll mention. The first person was Dr. Richard Kuhn, who analyzed it and noted that its pigments did not belong to any known natural or synthetic material at the time. Furthermore, he suggested that the pigments were completely unknown and did not derive from anything that could have been known in the 16th century, which is a pretty crazy thing to say for a world-class chemist. The second person was the aforementioned Dr. Philip Sudden-Lacalean, who analyzed it in 1979 with infrared photography. He was testing for brushstrokes in preparatory sketches, which would traditionally be found in these paintings. He found no evidence of brushstrokes or underdrawings, and described the image as seemingly floating on the tilma in certain areas. The pigments didn't even seep into the fibers of the tilma as you'd expect it to for a painting on agave. He described certain parts of it as being inexplicable by conventional painting techniques. Now, there were some alternative methods of painting at the time to the traditional brushstrokes, including block printing and stamping. The problem with block planing is that it absolutely could not produce the fine details, graduations, or intricacies seen in the tilma, and it would have left visible impressions and would have required ink to seep into the material. Remember, this image has no known pigmentations, and the pigmentations did not penetrate the fiber, so it was definitely not block printing. Moreover, stamping was far more used for simpler patterns and repetitive designs, not intricate and lifelike images like the tilma, and absolutely was not able to produce such images. And to make matters worse for all of this, agave is a rough and uneven, nasty fiber that would have been completely unusable for producing the smooth, detailed image that is on the tilma. And furthermore, some people have postulated that the image has been able to retain its beautiful color and detail because of periodic touch-ups or replacements, but there is no evidence of overpainting or major alterations. It is thus completely inexplicable by any scientific means. All of the options have been ruled out, thus leaving the one miraculous explanation. Now note I said it was a direct image of her. I mentioned that it was an incredibly intricate design, which is an understatement. This image is truly lifelike. It has naturalistic depictions of the human figure with anatomically accurate and consistent facial proportions. The hands have soft naturalistic folds of skin and subtle shading. The light and shadow on her clothing give the illusion of depth and movement. Her eyes are depicted with remarkable precision. They have all of the anatomical features of eyes and realistic reflections. It has an effective reflection that was unlikely known in the 16th century, and within those reflections you can find microscopic figures of Saint Juan Diego and the bishop as seen through the reflection within the eyes of Our Lady. The physicist Dr. Orfoldo Orozco concluded from its level of detail that the tilma's image could not have been created with the artistic techniques or materials available in the 16th century. Many, including the 17th century historian Father Francisco de Florencia, have argued that it could not have been created given the tools and artistic knowledge available at the time. This is an image with no brushstrokes and possibly imprinted on a rugged and uneven canvas with microscopic levels of detail, and it has existed for far longer than it ever could have possibly have. It's truly miraculous, and that's something that's supported by real scientists who analyzed it. And this thing still exists. It's there in Mexico City. You can go to it. You can check it out. You can see it for yourself. The tilma of Saint Juan Diego, the gift of Our Lady of Guadalupe, has affected the lives of hundreds of millions of Catholics. And it stands today as a scientifically anomalous and readily viewable testament to the reality of miracles and their possibility given the claims of Christianity. It is for this reason that I would venture to say that it is the best physical evidence of God, and it makes no sense.